Hello friends, I'm Atul Dahale and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to look at one of the brilliant queen sacrifices ever happened in the history of chess. And our hero of this game is Akiba Rubinstein. Akiba Rubinstein was among the best players in the world during the period of 1907 to 1922. He was a Polish grandmaster. And it is said that he had the caliber to become the world champion, but he never got the chance to play in the world championship match. Because in 1914 he challenged Lasker for the World Championship match. The match was also arranged, but due to the World War I, the match did not happen. After the World War I, Capablanca became the world champion in 1921. However, in 1922, Rubinstein challenged Capablanca, but Capablanca set some condition that Rubinstein needs to raise required amount of fund to play against him in the World Championship match, and Rubinstein failed to raise the fund to play in the world champion, and his dream of becoming the world champion just went away. And on a personal note, I learned a great deal related to this master from the book called as Positional Decision Making in Chess, written by Boris Gelfand. In that book, Boris Gelfand shows that Akiba was a great positional master, but the game which we are going to see, it also shows that he was also good in the dynamic play. And in the game, Akiba Rubinstein shows us that the symmetrical position which happens in the game is not always a dead drawn. Your opponent might make a mistake, he might give you a tempo, that tempo can be converted into initiative, and that initiative can be converted into a big attack. One more interesting fact about this game is that in one of the interviews Vishwanathan Anand said that this is game between the Rotlewi and Akiba Rubinstein is his favorite game. So let's look at the game and find out why this game is Anand's favorite game. So this game was played in Lodz 1907. White started with d4. Akiba Rubinstein was black. He played d5. His opponent was Rotlewi. Remember this thing. Then e6, e3, c5 was played, c4. This is the Tarrasch defense. Black played knight to the c6, knight to the c3, knight to the f6. This is symmetrical Tarrasch. Now white changes a little bit. He plays d into c5, bishop into c5, a3 is played with the idea of playing b4. So black also plays a6 trying to control the b5 square. White continues with his plan. He plays bishop to the pawn to the b4, then bishop to d6. He develops his bishop to the b2, and black completes his kingside development with castle. Now let's understand what is happening. Can white take the pawn on d5? Because c into d5, e into d5, knight into d5, knight into d5, queen into d5 seems that white is winning the pawn. But it's not like that. Black can play bishop into b4 and the queen on d5 will be lost. So that is not a good idea. So Rotlewi doesn't go for that thing. He plays queen to the d2. But the queen on d2 is not that well placed. Okay. But still Rubinstein plays queen to the e7, continuing with his development. Again, he is not taking care of his d5 pawn. It seems like that, but no, it is not like that. C into d5, e into d5, knight into d5, knight into d5, queen into d5 will allow black to take the initiative in the position. He will get a lot of compensation for the pawn because now the rook is coming on the d8 square. The queen is also a little bit shaky. The king on the e1 is still in the center of the board. The bishop is not developed and the king is not yet castled. So that is not a good compensation. That is not a good idea from thinking from white's perspective. So he doesn't capture the pawn. He plays instead bishop to the d3. But bishop d3 is also not that useful. I think in this position he should have just played rook to the d1, continuing with developing a piece, because what he played in the game, that is bishop to the d3, loses one important tempo. In this position, black plays d into c4, bishop into c4 and b5 move. Again the bishop is attacked and we need to play, means Rotlewi need to play the bishop again. So he loses the tempo. Now in this position, white becomes black and black becomes white because he is ahead in development also. His pieces are also developed more. White is yet to move his king towards the safety. So in this position, black plays rook to the d8. Now there is some pressure on this file. So to get away from the pressure, white plays queen to the e2. Again he need to play the move which is not related to his king safety. Okay, now let's understand what is happening. Black plays bishop to the b7 in this position and trying to just bring this rook in the game. And also one more thing we should understand, white plays castle and then these two bishops on d6 and bishop on b7 are going to be very strong, and that is the key in the game also. We'll see what happens. Now it is also said that whoever is ahead in tempo, like in this position black is ahead in development, and if that person or if that player can get his knight in the center of the board first, then he will take the initiative, and that's why Rubinstein plays knight to the e5. Now he is going to take the initiative. Then the knight on f3 needs to capture the knight on e5, and after this move, both the bishops will be free to attack white's king side. And Rotlewi thinks that okay, my position is being attacked, his king side position is being attacked, so I need to block this bishop. So he decides like that he will block the bishops by playing f4. Now one bishop is blocked, bishop needs to go back, but that is also a little bit weakness. Until now it was okay. Here in this position, white should have played rook a d1, just playing in the center of the board. But no, what he does, he plays e4. The idea of e4 is like he wants to play e5, and then when the knight will be pushed away, he wants to play bishop e4 and exchange this wonderful bishop on b7. But the game doesn't lead to that way. Black plays rook a c8, just bringing the piece, his last piece, into the game. It is said like if you are going on a war, do you always send, do you send only one person or one soldier for the war? No, obviously not. You go with the war with all your soldiers. That's what Rubinstein is doing. He is bringing all his pieces into the game. That is the very good quality of a good player. So in this position, white goes with his planning. He shuts this bishop on c7 down with his f4 and e5 pawn. And is also one idea is like when the knight will move, he will play bishop to the e4 and he will try to exchange this wonderful bishop on b7. But Rubinstein starts playing a very nice, starts playing one good move after another. He starts with bishop to the b6 check, king goes to the h1, and now the surprise, the first surprise in the game comes up on the board. Rubinstein plays knight to the g4. This was a completely unexpected move for Rotlewi. He cannot capture on g4 because after rook into d3, the knight on c3 will be attacked by two pieces, and if white saves the knight with rook to the c1, then rook will come on d2 and the bishop on b2 as well as the pawn on g2 will be attacked, and he cannot save both the things. And if the pawn on g2 falls, then the queen on g4 will also fall. Let's suppose for example bishop a1 is played, then black can simply play bishop into g2, queen into g2, rook into g2, and he will win the queen. So that is not a good idea from white's perspective. So he cannot capture the knight on g4. So in this position he simply plays bishop to the e4. That was his planning. He wants to exchange that beautiful bishop on b7 because it was exerting a lot of pressure on this diagonal, that is a8 to h1 diagonal. But here in this position, Rubinstein plays a brilliant move, that is queen to the h4. But okay, we can also see that maybe in this position he had a better move, that is knight on g4 can capture the pawn on h2, because after king into h2 it will lead to a checkmate with queen to the h4. But okay, it is also said that we often see the moves if we are only looking for them. It's obvious that queen h4 is the only move which Rubinstein saw, and he saw a little bit further. He was ready for a very brilliant queen sacrifice, and we will see what really happens now. It is just the beginning of the fireworks. Okay, so he plays queen to the h4 in this position, and now queen into h2 is the mate threatened, and there are two options from white side to save the mate. He can play h3 or he can play g3. Let's see what happens if he plays h3. During the game he played g3, but what happens with h3 move? If he plays h3, then one brilliant move comes in the center, that is a good move, rook into c3, because what black is trying to do is like he is trying to remove the supporters of bishop on e4, because after bishop into c3, bishop into e4 will come, and if queen captures on e4, then queen g3 is a good move. Now queen h2 is a checkmate threatened, and if h into g4 happens, then queen h4 is again a checkmate. So that is not a good idea. So let's suppose if he captures on g4 instead of on e4, what happens? So if he captures on g4, what happened? Just a minute. Then after queen into g4, h into g4, black has a good move, that is rook to the d3. The bishop on c3 is being attacked, and also the mate is threatened, that is rook to the h3 will be a checkmate, because this bishop on e4 is pinning the pawn on g2. So that is also not so good for white, so he cannot go for that variation. That's why he chooses to play g3, anticipating that Akiba Rubinstein will move his queen maybe to the e7 square, and he will try to recover the damage which is there. Obviously this position is bad for white, but at least he will be able to exchange the bishop on b7. But no, Rubinstein has already planned a very big queen sacrifice. He plays a very spectacular move now, that is rook into c3. This is a really amazing move, because if in this position, obviously in the game he captured the queen, we'll see what happens. If he doesn't capture the queen, that also we need to understand. But why he captured on c3? That is the first question. The thing is that these two bishops are attacking this king, okay, and this bishop on e4 is the only piece which is stopping that checkmate. So if the bishop on e4 was not there, then it would have been a checkmate. And who is supporting these two bishop? That bishop is knight on c3 and the queen on e2. The queen on e2 is also overlaid with the protection of the h2 pawn. So if you remove that queen or the knight from the support of the e4 pawn, then he will be checkmated. So that is why Rubinstein plays rook into c3. And if in this position, let's suppose he captures on b7, then what happens? Then there comes a very nice move, rook into g3. And here in this position, if he plays rook to the f3, then rook into f3, bishop into f3, and now knight to the f2 check. And this position will not be saved from white side, because there are many discovered checks are happening and it is just lost for white. And another thing is like, what happens if he captures on c3? Then we will play a very simple move, that is bishop into e4 check. Queen must capture the bishop on e4, and then queen h2 will be a checkmate. Okay, let's get back to the game where he captured the queen on h4. And what happens? Because it doesn't seem that anything is directly happening, but there is one hidden trap is there, hidden brilliant move is there, that this queen is still overloaded. He needs to support the bishop on e4. That's why the move comes in the center, that is rook to the d2. A very nice move. Now if queen into d2, then bishop into e4 happened in the game, and queen to the g2. Until now it seems like, okay, we have saved the mate, but no, Rubinstein has seen a little bit one move further. He plays rook to the h3, and now the queen into rook into h2 is the checkmate threatened, and that mate cannot be stopped. So in this position, Rotlewi just resigns the game, and Rubinstein wins this game in a very brilliant fashion. When I first looked at this game, I was really amazed, like the way he used his two bishops, his two rooks, and also the knight is simply amazing. In that position, the queen was also not required in the position, and this is one of the brilliant queen sacrifices which happened on the board. And it all happened because it shows the power of the pieces, the coordination between the pieces. And okay, you can say that his opponent gave him some chance in the opening, but after that, how Rubinstein played is simply phenomenal. I just really love this game. So if you also like this game the way I liked it, the way Anand liked it, you can share this game with your friends also, and do subscribe to my YouTube channel. That will be a very good thing. Thank you for watching the video. We will meet again. Bye.